This is the first episode of the O Show where we talk about everything and anything from sports, personal issues, problems, funny shit, skits, whatever the hell. So, my name is Miguel, and everybody else can introduce themselves.
Oh, my name is Jordan.
Hi, my name is Franco.
I'm Kobe.
So, each week we're probably gonna shoot about 2 videos or so. This one is gonna be LeBron versus Michael Jordan conversation.
The iconic debate.
The iconic debate that everybody wants to talk about and needs to be getting out the way.
We have to know the answers to this one.
So whoever wants to start off can start it off.
Frank, go ahead and start off. Go ahead, man.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a very heated debate for quite some time. You know, we have one player that's already finished with his career and one who's currently still playing in the NBA at the height of his powers, it seems like still. So, it's going to be a very, very much well thought out debate. There's cases to be made for both players. I think that both have pros and cons, and that's what we want to discuss here today. Kobe?
Well, personally, I think they're both really great players. Obviously, you know, the eras are different. You know, the rules are different, but their greatness cannot be denied. You know, Jordan played in an era I think that was more physical and rough. LeBron's played in an area that's more convenient for him. You know, there's less contact, and it's not enough physicality, I feel like, today's game. So, like, I got to give that answer to Jordan. But even though I didn't see him play really like that, but from what I've seen, he's a better player. Jordan?
Snoring. But yeah, I gotta go with Jordan too, man. But
Whoa. So you said who?
he said Jordan.
Who you say?
I started. I passed it to Kobe.
So who are you picking?
Well, it's kind of difficult to say. You know, one player is still playing, so it's hard to compare careers when one's finished, one's still going. So LeBron has time to continue to add to his resume. But as of right now, I would have to pick Michael Jordan just because of what he's accomplished and the era he's done it in against the competition that he's had. LeBron James has played against some amazing competition as well, but he still has some time to grow, and I believe he can add some more things to his resume. And I think the way he's going right now, he has at least another about 2 or 3 really, really good years. And then maybe about 2 more after that when he's really starting to come down to reality again. He's been going for, you know, almost 20 years it seems like now, and he hasn't seemed like he's slowing down at any point. So it's going to be really interesting to see in about 3 or 4 or 5 years where the debate will be. But as of right now, as we speak, I will have to go with Michael Jordan.
So my thing is this: when in 3 to 5 more years, what will LeBron have to do to surpass Jordan?
Well, he's going to have to win at least another championship. I mean, this year was like, after I seen this season with the Lakers, when we had Carmelo, Dwight, obviously LeBron, Westbrook. I was like, bro, this team's AD. AD.
Yeah, but AD only played like a couple of games.
Nigga's injury prone.
Injuries was a big part of this season for the Lakers, and it's going to be some time before they can all get back healthy. Hopefully they can keep the team together, but my guess is, you know, with LeBron James being the part-time GM, probably going to see some trades in the offseason, try to get this team back to where it needs to be. Or I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron leaves himself. You know, he's very, he's at a point in his career where he needs to do what's best for him. And like I said, I would not be shocked if he ended up leaving the Lakers after the season.
Well, he's even said, though, in like interviews before that, he wants to play with his son, Bronny, when he comes to the league in like, what, 3 years
That's
or so?
that's a little bit of time.
So, like, who knows? I mean, he still has a contract with the Lakers right now, like another 2 years, I think, or a year or something like that left. I'm 100% sure. But, you know, I think they still have a chance to win a championship. You know, they keep that team, add some more pieces together. They're still really good. You know, AD, obviously, this season will suffer injuries. That hurt them a lot. Westbrook trying to figure out his place in the team. You know, he's more or less a ball in his hands type guy.
Mm-hmm. Very ball dominant.
So he really didn't have that with LeBron because LeBron's also a very ball dominant player. So, like, it's kind of hard for him to do. He's not a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's more or less a facilitator, slasher to the basket. You know, he couldn't do that this year in the Lakers. So
That's
like,
one thing
they're
they
going
need
to
to
have to
work
figure
on.
out.
They need to work on his shooting and all. Because if he was able to work on his shooting, then yeah, the Lakers would probably have a chance of going to at least playoffs.
Well, when LeBron's at his best, it's usually him with the ball facilitating. That's been his strength his whole career. When he was winning championships, it was really him at the forefront with about two great All Stars and then a bunch of role players, who know how to play defense and shoot threes. I feel like that's the best team you could put around LeBron. And this year's Lakers just didn't fit that role. It was a lot of star power. A lot of them were a little bit past their prime, but still great players. And injuries really hurt them this year. So my opinion would be they're gonna have to get some better shooters all around, some better role players. Maybe get rid of a couple stars, and some players just need to get back to rehab and get ready for next season. Especially Anthony Davis. He's the biggest X factor for the Lakers. When he's healthy, he's a big problem for the whole league. So. And we've seen what they can do when they're healthy. Just about 2 years ago, they won the whole thing. So it's not impossible. It can happen, So they're just gonna have to rebuild. Probably get a couple more shooters. Get rid of possibly Westbrook. No, possibly. I'm not saying he's the problem, but it's like we discussed a second ago.
Everybody thinks that Westbrook is a problem.
He's not the problem,
He
but
wasn't the
his
problem.
style,
Changed the chemistry of the team.
Exactly. His style
just needs to
doesn't
find
fit
his
with
way.
LeBron's. I feel like LeBron is just a better version of Westbrook.
They're both slashers.
They're both
They're
exactly.
both like playmakers and slashers.
Exactly.
You need a shooter.
Anthony Davis is all around when he's healthy. He's great on defense. He can shoot He can shoot really well for a big man. He can post up. He's very versatile. It's just health for AD. That's the biggest factor for him is his health. He has to be healthy.
Well, the crazy part is, I remember when the season started, and I remember you saying the same thing, Kobe. You said, didn't have no shooters. Then what happened the rest of the season? We got no shooters. And Westbrook played like ass, so then he can't even. Well, going back on topic, LeBron will never surpass Jordan, no matter what. You have to win, like, literally.
Honestly,
In terms of titles, he can probably surpass him, but it still won't matter. I feel like
LeBron, he ain't even he can't even surpass Kobe, cause even Kobe, he didn't he hit the team that he had. Like when people said that it was like one of the worst teams for the Lakers and all.
Back in 2013, right?
Yeah, I think so. With D'Lo and all them, they even said that was like the trash team, but yet they still made it to the playoffs. They didn't make it to the finals.
Talking about the team with Steve Nash and Dwight Howard.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was 2013.
Yeah.
And prior to this year, that probably was the worst team in recent memory for the Lakers.
Yeah, but now.
But they did make it to the playoffs that year.
Yeah.
This year is just really, same thing, just fat.
Bigger slump.
Yeah,
Now, one of the
health.
teams.
It's just health.
One of the
injuries.
teams that kind of shocked me was the Bulls, though, because I didn't really see Lonzo or D Rose and fitting together and all, but shocked the hell out of me.
As far as surprises, yes, the Lakers was probably the biggest one this year. The Bulls probably be second. Did not see them coming out of the gates like they did this year. They had some injuries as well, so I think they lost a few games they could have won. But they're a lock for the playoffs, which is great. And their future is looking really bright too as well.
How about the Celtics though? The Celtics, I believe in January 7th, I think this year they were 18-21, and now they're 50 and 30. They're the second seed in the East. It's crazy.
Celtics have had a
they
huge
really
turnaround.
Jason Tatum's the star of that team, and he's gonna lead them. He's gonna be the star for years.
And it's really a shame with all these great teams that are coming out now. We still see some of the same MVP candidates. And, look at the Suns. I mean, the Suns have the best record in the whole league, but we don't see Devin Booker or Chris Paul and the MVP candidates in the top 5 or top 10.
Nope.
So, it really doesn't make sense as far as MVP standings go. Every year it seems like it's changing. It's who is the best player or who is the best player on the best team. What is the criteria for MVP now? See, now we have Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets, who's atop the standings and the MVP candidate. And they're not going to be able to win 50 games this year. They will make it to the playoffs, but we have, like I said, the Suns. I mean, they have the best record. They're about 64 wins already.
64 and 17.
64 and 17 with 1 game left. They could win 65 potentially, and we don't see. Chris Paul has been a great player in our league for forever, and he's never won the MVP.
Or championship.
Or championship.
Yeah, true.
And I think with the Suns lost last year to the Bucks, even when they went up 2-0 in the finals, I think that they've carried that with them all year long. And I think this is the year that they're going to want to use that as their motivation and their fire to get back to the finals and possibly win the whole thing this year.
This is a really good conversation we're having, but we're trying to get back on topic.
Yeah, back on topic.
Back on topic.
Back on
Yes.
topic. Some of the stuff you said is important.
Jordan and LeBron debate.
Because if you think about it, you talk about MVPs. Now this is important because if you talk about LeBron and Jordan completely, you're talking about titles, number one. That's what people think about usually. Titles, of course, is a team sport. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you can't always take into consideration. But this is what I look at. This is what people understand. And I look at Tom Brady in the same light because LeBron won a title without building a team before. No, let me repeat that. Let me restate that. LeBron has traded and did things to go to different teams to build himself a team technically to win, which is not something that Michael Jordan did. And they always talk about, they brought Rodman and things like that. That's not the same thing.
Not quite.
It's not the same. You're bringing someone to your team instead of going to other teams and building. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
So in my boat, it's not just championships. Like it's also LeBron has lost too many finals. I'm sorry, but it's a great accomplishment to go to finals, and it's difficult. He's a great player. You can put him in that stature, but to lose that many times, that's negative. I'm sorry, you can't just go to finals and just lose that many times. What did he went to 9 finals in a row? And
yeah, I believe he made it about a whole decade straight. Yeah,
that's not good in my opinion. It's great. You're a great player, but in terms of the level, I think Jordan's just on a different level. And honestly, if he didn't miss that year or so, they probably won all through. The Bulls would have had multiple in a row. That's my opinion.
I'm talking about the year they went.
It's big as speculation, but yes, it has been said before that the Bulls could have possibly won 8 straight titles if he did not retire back in 1993.
Yeah, even if he didn't retire, who knows what would have happened? If they didn't split them up and everything.
We'll never know. I mean, the Rockets were a great team, but given his record in the finals and given his his mindset going into the finals, it'd be pretty tough to defeat Michael and the Bulls. That team was just hitting on all cylinders. I will say this, though. In 95, they did not have Rodman, and they lost to the Orlando Magic. Now, Michael Jordan didn't come back till about the end of the year with about maybe 20 games left. But they did not have Rodman, and they traded for him the very next year. So technically, Rodman would not have been on the team if Jordan never retired. So there's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's just as simple as saying, well, because the Bulls dynasty was 2 different teams. You have the first three-peat and you have the second three-peat. There's 2 different rosters. The only thing that's the same is Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Mm-hmm. So we really don't know. That's why the debate is so talked about. It's really, could they have won 8 straight? But who knows if they win the 2 that they didn't win, maybe they wouldn't have won the last 3 because of their roster. They wouldn't have Rodman. So it's definitely one of the biggest conversations to be had. And 8 straight titles has never been done except one time, which was in the 60s with the Celtics, Bill Russell's Celtics. And that was a completely different era with maybe just, 8, 10 teams in the league. And
5 great players probably.
Probably, exactly. And of course, Bill Russell's teams were always stacked back then. No other team could really challenge them. So that probably would have been... That would have been it, in my opinion. If they would have won 8 straight titles, then there would have been no debate at all for Jordan as the GOAT. His case is still very strong. I mean, you're always going to have debates about certain players. I mean, not just LeBron James and Michael Jordan. We have, everyone thinks, some people think Kobe Bryant's the greatest, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Will Chamberlain, Bill Russell. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and everyone has seen different players, so that's why these debates never end. It seems like every year it's always the same topic. So,
but the
thing is, we all agree pretty much that Jordan's better, right?
Of course,
yes, of course.
So that's the thing, is that what would make this topic has changed not to who is better, but what will make LeBron better than Jordan.
Nothing will make it better than my
Exactly.
opinion. Because
so
look,
this topic ends. In terms of like everyone talking about it.
the thing that annoys me with LeBron supporters is that they always look at the team and be like, "Oh, LeBron's never had any help. He's never had no kind of like other partner, a duo who really could help him." When he was in Miami,
he had Dwayne Wade.
He had Dwayne Wade,
Chris Bosh,
Ray Allen.
And Ray Allen.
And
Well,
Udonis Haslem.
That was a little later in Ray Allen's time.
yeah, that was like a little bit past his prime, but he was still a essential.
He was still a
piece.
knockdown shooter.
You know, he was still an
Yeah.
essential piece of their offense, but he wasn't like
He wasn't part of the big three.
No.
He wasn't like the Celtics or Milwaukee Ray Allen. He was so.
Mm-mm.
But and then you go to Cleveland, you have Kevin Love and Kyrie.
Mhm.
And people
And I think
In their prime, too, as well.
Mhm.
And so it annoys me. People be like, "Oh, well, he's never had any help. He's never had this and that." Well, he's had help. It's just he's never utilized it. I guess
LeBron
really
James has
He's
had more
played with
freedom.
some of the best players
Yes.
of the time.
And he's had more freedom than any star I can remember that can choose who he chooses to play with and pick
Like this past season, he got
pick
Westbrook.
who he wants.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen any other player been able to do what he can do as far as, well, I want this guy, or him to be with me. I've never seen any other player be able to do this.
Back in the '90s, Jordan didn't do that. He played the same team he
Back
had.
in
all
not
the way
even
up.
just the 90s, back in maybe just the 2000s.
Even the
You never
Kobe
saw
really
Kobe.
couldn't
Yeah,
pick nobody.
you never saw
You
these
can't-
things.
You can't do that.
So
you know?
it annoys me. People be like, "Oh,
We never
Jordan's
saw
not
the
that
Spurs do. The Spurs used to be a dynasty as well. We never saw them be able to pick up stars, this and that, and
I mean, salary cap is a big reason. Just say that.
Yeah.
that's true.
But you still can't. They never let players be a part of the management. And LeBron has been there so long and too much of a big house name that they start to be like Tom Brady. I'm going to pick who I want. I'm going to let him do what he wants. That shouldn't be allowed. But players also cut their contracts to go play with players like that. Why do you want to play with LeBron for? I don't know. That's what they want to do. Tom Brady, same issue. These players just choose what they want because they've been there so long and they're well respected. But in LeBron's boat, you have these players playing with so long. Like you said, they're not utilizing them correctly and they're losing the finals. Or they don't make it to playoffs like this year. It shouldn't be that way. And yeah, this team is a little different. AD is, I'm going to say right now, AD was a great player. I'm going to say was because that injury is done for. He's injury prone to the max. He's an amazing player, but he can't play no longer. It's going to get to a point where he's done.
What I don't understand is, it's like we were saying before, the Lakers can do it. They have won a championship back in 2020 in the bubble. I don't understand why they had to blow up the team that very same summer. They had a great roster. They had great players. They gave away Rondo. They gave away Howard, McGee, and they got back Schroeder and Harrell.
And they got Gasol too.
And Gasol as
Yeah,
well.
almost like-
They gave up their size for what? I mean, they
more shooting, I guess.
Something I think is something in the management office.
It was something to do with more shooting.
they gave away Caruso as well. And now Caruso's shining in Chicago now. Like they gave away a
I'm gonna
great
say
team.
the bubble win was just a win for Kobe Bryant. I don't know. I don't see things are staged, but that just felt like they were winning for Kobe or something. It felt weird that year.
Oh,
Whether
It just felt like it was
that's
just meant to be.
when it was Miami and Lakers.
Right.
Yeah,
at the
it
finals.
felt like it was
Yeah.
meant to be. Like I don't know what it was. It just felt like it just had to.
well,
happen.
that is a
I
very
wouldn't
interesting.
say that. It just has to do also with
Sometimes
like,
it does.
I
felt weird.
don't think it was staged.
Sports can be staged, and this wouldn't be the
Some
first time.
manner.
Some sports, especially boxing, is definitely staged.
Oh yeah, man, that's
But-
just money making.
no,
That's
but-
it.
The boxing's different though, because it's like a one-time event where it's like you stage that, but you can't really stage like a whole playoff series where it's like
Not a series, but
Kinda
you
can.
can. You can do a
Your
game.
contracts could have something saying, "Hey, I want you to like touch this ball and just drop it or something." Something stupid.
Yeah,
you never know.
Like
You-
the
you mean-
Panthers
you have to-
versus the
you have to
Broncos.
remember-
Oh, that's serious, man.
You have
Now
to
we're in another
remember-
little topic talking about some
Bro,
staged games.
Like hey,
We have to remember at the end of the day, the NFL, the NBA, any of these leagues,
they're companies.
they're all companies. Yes, the main goal is money. This
Yeah.
is why they want to, okay, you have LeBron James. That's going to be your poster child for the league. You have to make him
Yeah.
your number one guy because you have to. It's the same. They did the same thing with Michael Jordan. They do the same thing with every great player.
Yeah.
You have to put that's how the league has been at least since the '80s, since Magic Johnson and
that's
Larry
why
Bird
we
when
had
it
this
came back.
conversation.
But-
Because people like LeBron are a poster child of the league at this moment. And then when he's gone, there's gonna be another person.
Of course, and there's the next
same
one.
Shit conversation.
They're getting groomed right now. Look at Giannis, look at Doncic, look at Jokic, like Embiid. There's so many great players that they're grooming. Who knows who's going to be the next one? I mean, it's
hopefully Luka.
Luka's a great player. You can
It's
make
pretty much LeBron 2.0.
Yeah, in a way,
but like less athletic.
But as the league changes, I don't know.
Because Giannis is like, I wouldn't say he's in his prime. And
Giannis will never be a post child for the league.
He's like
he's great, but
he's like in this. I guess you could say like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like mid prime, I guess, or some shit. I don't know.
So you
I think he's in his prime.
So,
I wouldn't say like he's
Dude,
not.
Giannis is definitely in his prime currently.
Yeah,
he's currently in his prime.
Definitely there.
And your prime can last for years. Your prime. That's the thing people don't understand. Prime doesn't mean like, oh, it's just this year.
It's
this
a certain
season
amount of
shit.
years.
No,
Yeah.
it can last for years. Like Jordan's prime. What do you consider Jordan's prime?
Jordan's prime.
And it's not every championship. It's
No.
like you know it.
It's like 1990, 1998.
There you go. That's why I would say around there.
That was when he was. Yes, nobody was doing anything with him around this time, and you know,
that's when you're at the pinnacle of your playmaking abilities.
Mhm.
That's what your prime is.
when you've mastered your craft
Like,
completely,
Giannis is
no
at
one can
his
stop
prime.
you. Yep.
LeBron technically has not really escaped his prime, but
He's getting there.
LeBron James.
I don't see no slowing down. I will admit, this is me kind of my mouth. I don't see him slowing down. I just see
He has slowed
he
down.
needs-
He's
gotten
definitely
older.
as far
I mean,
as
there's moments,
athleticism.
He's older, of course. You're gonna stop. I've seen it in games where he's like doesn't
You know,
try.
He's not the player.
Yeah.
He's not the player he once was out there 10 years
you
ago.
got to
in
play
Miami.
two damn games.
I
You
mean-
can't go out there and go.
I mean,
That was arguably his best era, by the way. His best
Which one?
stretch was when it was Miami. That
Yeah,
4-year
That's his
stretch.
best
Yeah.
years.
That I believe
Those 4
that was
years,
when,
yeah.
when he was still athletic and he was still IQ wise at his highest. IQ hasn't changed. It's only gotten better, I feel like. But as
It's
far
just
as
his
everything,
body.
the total package with
Yeah.
athleticism and IQ, I believe his Miami years were his
And
best.
I also would say that LeBron was actually like a top 5 defensive player in the league with Miami.
Oh
Like,
yes, he
really
was.
like, really
He was
good.
and he was a defensive player of the year candidate as well one year. I think yeah, he was very close actually. Wasn't he second? I think in voting in 1 year.
So let's say this: if LeBron won the title for the next 3 years, he would not surpass Michael Jordan.
Well, if he won the title 3 years in a row, he would be 7 rings now.
Is the roster changing or no? Let's get that question.
I
out
mean,
of
the
way.
roster
I
might
mean,
change, of course, but not like he won't
I
get
mean-
no superstar though.
Okay, let's say like,
You know what I'm
let's say
saying?
he wins with like let's say the roster, the
Kinda
core
what it
roster he has
is.
now. If he did that somehow, 'cause
Yeah, somehow.
he's 38 years old this year.
Yep.
In
December.
3 years,
Yeah.
41.
So if he does
He
that,
still wants to play.
and he did, then it'll be really close for me still. But I think I still get the edge to Jordan still. But like,
Yeah, because he ain't got much
couldn't-
time.
You know, you couldn't really deny his greatness at that point. If he did
Well,
that. I mean, even now I'm not denying it.
So should we agree on this? Should they change the logo to Jordan?
I believe they should. Oh,
I wanted.
That's
them
a
to-
good little
They-
topic
When
they-
too.
Kobe,
I think they should. Yes, exactly, Jordan.
When
I think.
Kobe
I think
died,
they
So
should.
think
why
they
is
should've
Kobe more
changed
important than Jordan? That's.
I think it's a respect thing.
You
I
should
think-
do
it just 'cause
I
he
mean,
died,
why
though.
give it to Jerry
Yeah,
West?
that's what I'm saying. So now
I
people
mean-
talked about that too.
I mean, we can say the same thing about Jerry West though. Why give it to Jerry? I mean,
Yeah,
Jerry
what do you-
Jerry only won
Yeah,
one
but
ring and he
the
lost
thing
10.
is, what is the currently? I can't question. Changing is different. See, if you want to change it, you change it to something that makes sense. So at this moment, you can't give it to Kobe. Kobe was great, but just because he died, don't mean anything. What if Jordan died tomorrow?
I mean, Sam,
You
you
can't
really,
go by death. Death is not a. It's everyone's gonna die. So you gotta look at their accomplishments within the league. Kobe was great. Kobe did things, but you can't. I wouldn't change the logo to Kobe. I don't think it's a definitive kind of career compared to like Jordan. That's my opinion though.
Well, here's the
I like
question.
Kobe more,
If
but it's different.
If they were to change it, what would it be? I mean, Jordan already has his own logo. I don't think the NBA
Yeah.
would allow it to be the Jumpman.
They're
logo.
not gonna make it a Jumpman because it's already trademarked.
Exactly.
You're gonna have to make it something a little similar, but not exactly.
I mean, they can
that.
make it just a regular, like their own logo. I mean, it has to be like a certain player as a logo.
Honestly,
It
if
can
it
be
were-
someone else.
if
But
it
being
were-
a silhouette, it kind of doesn't matter.
Exactly.
If it's not the Jumpman, it's kind of
Well,
like,
but in my opinion, honestly, I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, even if it is Jerry West, like you
No,
can't
I'm
really
saying
you
wrong
can't really
with it.
tell it's Jerry West. I mean, it's a
Yeah, you
silhouette.
can't tell the silhouette,
and
but-
it's already been ingrained in our brains for so long that is the logo. It's been the logo, and I don't see any reason to change it. If they were going to change it, I mean, who knows? I mean, If it's going to be Jordan, then it cannot be the Jumpman. And so, what other logo you cannot associate any of the logo with Jordan other than the Jumpman because that's his logo.
Literally it. There ain't nothing else. Even Kobe, what you gonna do?
Exactly. So exactly. and either way, it's a silhouette. I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point. You know what? If they were to change it, in my opinion, it has no meaning.
I think they'll change it eventually because people are not going to remember anybody from the past pretty soon. Not in our generation, but it will happen. I feel like by the time we're almost dead, they're going to change it.
I could have done that.
That's Kobe. Yeah, you're right. That is Kobe right there. You could tell.
Yeah, that's Kobe.
But still, though, it's not like it's needed. I understand the conversation.
But think about it. But look at that and look at the NBA logo. It's pretty much the same thing. He's lower.
It's just the person.
He's dribbling the ball.
Exactly.
And honestly, that our NBA logo is actually pretty.
It's not really.
It can actually last for. It's generic as a motherfucker, but it can last for years.
Or you could do it where he's
That's a
fading
good
away.
thing. Huh?
Or you could do it where he's fading.
Fuck it. Leave it the way.
Fuck.
And as far as like the Kobe goes, you know, like there was like
Oh, boy.
many,
Oh, look at hold on, no, we're keeping this on.
What were you gonna say,
Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
Dude, we told you 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I thought you meant like at night.
1 o'clock in the morning?
What?
The fuck?
I'm at the barbershop. I couldn't make it. I told you I didn't get off till 4 from the barbershop.
Oh shit.
Hey, you're fucked.
Alright, we'll do it on the next one. No big deal, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
We're always gonna do one every week anyways.
Yep. Alright.
Alright, let you go, man.
Alright.
Alright.
but
I'll edit it out.
getting back on topic, you know, as far as Kobe goes, when there was so much Kobe hate and slander for so many years about him, and now when he died, everyone suddenly like, loves Kobe now. It's like, oh, Kobe was this great player. He was like relentless. He was fearless. But back when he was still alive, all I heard was Kobe's a ball. Kobe can't finish. He doesn't have no. He's like, you know, he can't score. It's always like something
A
said
whole
about
bunch of
Kobe.
bad shit.
It was always like
His personal
that.
shit, he's a rapist.
Yeah,
like, in
that too.
conversation.
Yeah, that shit.
But,
But-
I'm just saying, you know, there was always negativity. You're right.
After I heard that shit, I was like, what the fuck?
You know what I'm saying? There's always negativity. You got there's great players with negativity surrounded by them.
They try to do
And
it.
then
Antonio.
Kobe Bryant, honestly, I think if you were a true Kobe fan, you cared. But most people who like Kobe only liked him towards the end, and that's something I've noticed a lot. Because like, there was never a moment in Kobe's career where you're like, oh man, like some people don't want to go out there and be like, okay, I'm just here to see Kobe Bryant. Some people weren't like that. They just saw Kobe. In the
I
Lakers.
can honestly say
But
I
if
was.
you were a fan,
I was a big fan of Kobe Bryant. So
it's
like,
different.
Yeah.
you know, I bought his jerseys. I watched
Like-
his games. I was actually a really big Kobe Bryant fan. The Lakers weren't. I remember in Kobe in his prime, the Lakers were not a great team. It was hard to watch some of those games, but
Yeah.
he was incredible. He was always a great player. It wasn't until they made some trades and got Pau Gasol, and that's when they really started to build some great chemistry and start winning some rings. But yeah, he did get more fans as his career winded down to the end. He had a very horrible injury with his Achilles. That
Really messed him up.
really messed him up. And if you remember that year, like I do, that was one of his best years right before he got the injury. He was really playing at an MVP level. And I feel like he could have had a similar situation like LeBron is right now. He could have still been playing at a high level for at least 5 more years after that year, at least in my opinion. Maybe, who knows if they would want a ring, but I mean, at least he was still playing at a great level. And it was really a shame to see his career go down like that. Kobe, I mean, when we rank players, we want to keep it on the court. Every player has something outside in their personal lives that's not good.
It's not relevant though. To
It's
that.
not- it's
Like
irrelevant.
Michael Jordan's-
Now we're talking about a
Like
different thing.
when Michael Jordan's gambling problem, that
Yeah,
has
it's
nothing.
irrelevant.
That has nothing to do
All
with
that crap
exactly.
is
It's irrelevant. Kobe
The same
Bryant's
thing with
his
musicians and everything.
his court case, Kobe Bryant with
Yeah,
the alleged rape assault, that has nothing to do with what he was as a player.
Yeah, we're talking about the player, not their personal.
Exactly, and I believe Kobe Bryant is still a top 10 player all time.
Yeah.
And it's like what Jordan was saying earlier. I mean, there's a lot of people that still believe LeBron has not passed Kobe yet. So why would he be ahead of Jordan?
Exactly.
So that is the reason
That's
why
a separate
these
thing.
debates are so heated and talked about, and it's why they'll never end. And we
about
shouldn't want them to end. I mean, that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it.
It makes it
talkable.
fun, but it also gets to a point where it's like when does it stop though?
Yeah,
Because
it needs to be
there's
definitive.
only like a certain amount of like stats you can pull up. You can talk about games played, all this stuff. To get to a point where like when would it hit? And I mean,
Is it gonna end
I
when
mean,
his career is done?
I guess it ends when basketball ends. When
No, it's gonna end when LeBron.
exactly.
Yeah.
I guess.
When LeBron decides he's gonna retire, then we're gonna only look at the info that's there, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, that's why I asked like, what does he got to do? Because literally, that's the only question people need to ask. Not is he surpassed him? He's never gonna surpass him. He's gonna have to win like a bunch of damn titles, a bunch. That's the only way he's gonna surpass Jordan.
Well,
Because we're gonna look at him in a different way,
Right.
not what the impact he's done.
Well, there's just too many factors. For one, it's like you alluded to earlier, Miguel, is that LeBron has just. It's not just his fault, by the way, because it is a team sport. But they just did not win enough. You know, they've lost so many chances to win a ring. Granted, they were going up against great teams. You know, those teams were very
Warriors teams, especially.
Warriors, the Spurs. Those were some great teams. And even before the finals, there was times where he didn't even beat the Celtics. You know, those were great teams. He should not be ashamed of losing to those teams. Those teams were made to win. And you know, it's like Jordan never lost in the finals. Never made it to a Game 7. Those were also some great teams. People like to bring up the competition, you know, in favor of LeBron. Well, they say that, well, you know, Jordan never faced a team like the Warriors. He never faced a team like the Spurs. That's true. I would agree with that, but you have to look at what happened. I mean, Jordan was like the Warriors. He was the Spurs team. That's why he never played against them, because he was the team. You see, that's the difference.
He was a monster.
Like the Warriors when they won 73 games. Well, Jordan won 72. That was the Warriors team back then. So of course he couldn't play against them. That's just how it was. That's just how it panned out. You know, people like to say, well, LeBron beat them. He beat the 73 team, so he should be ahead of Jordan. I don't think it's that simple either. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, basketball has so many things that happen, injuries, you know, suspensions. I remember the series very well. That was a great series, and Draymond Green got suspended for a game. Stephen Curry was not healthy. And injuries people don't like to bring up injuries in the finals because it happens to every team. It's no different than when the Warriors beat the Cavs in 2015, the year before. I mean, Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving were injured. I mean, so they say that's the reason the Warriors win, and vice versa. You'll never, and you know, the Curry was injured, so the Warriors lost. I mean, it happens.
Raptors versus the Warriors. KD
exactly. Warriors would have won that easy.
Injured. Yeah,
You're telling me if Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson were not injured, they would have lost to the Raptors. There's no way. That team was too much firepower. It's one of the greatest teams of all time. And they still made it a 6-game series on top of that. That tells you everything. Despite Clay and KD, you know, going down like that. That team was built to three-peat, and that was going to be their three-peat, but injuries. You know, injuries is something that, you know, it can bring down any team.
Well, we got to wrap this up because everybody says the same thing there. Yeah. Jordan across
Jordan. Everybody Jordan.
All right. Well, like I said, you already know this topic we're talking about forever. You're never going to stop. It's going to be every year. Somebody's going to talk about it. The same fucking commentator's going to talk about it. So, at least we got
for better or worse.
System.
For better or worse.
At least we got our system. Hey, Kendrick Perkins did say something, though. He said something about... He said it recently, actually. No. It's funny because it was
Kendrick Perkins?
He's like, I retired. LeBron's still playing. They pretty much the same age.
But Kendrick Perkins is like the
Perkins.
I know. We're talking about some of the.
But Kendrick Perkins is like the biggest LeBron supporter of like all time.
You know how
despite him playing against.
Well, you have to ask yourself. You know, there's a lot of those going around as far as commentators and analysts. It's like we were talking about with games being fixed. I mean, it's a show. You're watching it. It's TV. I mean, it's a script that they're reading. I mean, they're telling you what to say. You know, they want you to hype up LeBron. They want you to hype up who they want you to hype up. It's all a business. It's all, you know, it is what it is, for better or worse.
Yep, it is what it is. We're going to wrap this episode up. So, we all agree with the same thing. Yep. So, that's how I'm going to leave it. Y'all have anything extra to say? Because I know we talked about this for at least 40 minutes, it sounds like.
Well, all I say is that Jordan will be the GOAT. I think he always will be. Into something... I don't think there will be another player like him. You know, despite the era he played in, I just don't see how anybody can surpass him. I mean, the competition was great back then too. Not to say it's not today now, but you know, all around, he was the best player I've seen that I've watched at least in highlights and seen. So
When we talk about a total body of work, yes, I would have to agree. Michael Jordan accomplished pretty much everything you could want a single player to accomplish. And it's not over. I feel like I said, LeBron has plenty of time to do more things. He has time. But just for now and for the foreseeable future, I would have to say yes. Michael Jordan is the greatest player still of all time. Just of how everything went down and how he's still remembered even after 20 years of being retired. We're still talking about this guy. I mean, that's when you know you're great. That's when you know that you are the standard. When the next great player comes out, not just in basketball, but in any sport, they always say, well, this guy is like the Michael Jordan of golf. This guy is the Michael Jordan of tennis. It always is. This is the Michael Jordan of whatever it is they're doing. Mm-hmm. That should tell you just how great he really was. So I'll just leave it at that.
Do you have any last things? No.
All I said was just Michael Jordan's the guy. Michael Jordan is the go-to. He'll always be that.
Well, I believe this the same thing, kind of where you said it. The main thing in life is music, movies, cars, or whatever the hell you have. There's always someone that sets the standard, and we need to not think who's gonna beat the standard, because honestly, that's a pinnacle. There is no higher. Like once you reach the top, you're at the top. There's no higher. We need to stop thinking someone's gonna be higher than that person. It's not gonna happen. You might reach it. You're not gonna get higher.
I will say this.
Yes,
LeBron James has a chance to at least come very close, if not already second place.
Don't mean nothing.
at the very least, he could be
close. Don't mean nothing.
Second place.
Because if you look at it, to be second place, you'll have to play way past in his 40s. And is that worth it?
He also is number one scorer most of the
LeBron
NBA
James.
Oh yeah, exactly.
If you're not first, you're last.
LeBron doesn't really care. I think LeBron doesn't even worry about these conversations at all. Anyways,
no,
it's
not
just
even
a personal conversation.
At the end of the day, this guy's a millionaire. He has everything he could ever want, and he's already etched in stone forever.
He probably reached the pinnacle he wants to. Now you're just playing for titles.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And pretty soon, if he's locked in for another 3 years.
Yeah,
he's going to break that scoring record of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Very soon.
That's going to be
that's going to be it pretty much for that. And I will say this: LeBron James is definitely one of the best players as far as stats go. He has a lot of great stats. I mean, this guy he's like a machine, man. I mean, I can't say anything bad about LeBron James. I mean, he's still a great player. Just because he's not the greatest doesn't mean he's not worthy of being mentioned. He's not worthy of being next to him. He's still a great player. He's still worthy of that, and you have to give him his respect. He's doing a lot of things that a lot of players cannot do, and that's longevity. That's his best argument is his longevity. He's still playing at an MVP level when most players are retiring at his age. So we have to acknowledge that as well.
All right, I guess we're gonna leave it at that.